Okay, let's set up GitHub authentication for our Supabase project. So we're going to start by going to GitHub. Make sure you're logged into GitHub. Once you're logged in, click on your avatar in the upper right and then scroll down to Settings. Click on Settings, and then over on the left you're going to scroll all the way down to Developer Settings and click on that. And then over on the left you're going to click on OAuth Apps. We're going to register a new OAuth application here, so just click the button, put in your application name. Then in the homepage URL box you're going to type the URL of your application. You don't need an application description at this point. And then this authorization callback URL is important. In order to get that, we're going to need to go to our Supabase project. We've created a Supabase project here, so just click on that and go down to Settings and then API. And this is your API URL. This part here is unique to your project. It's the project ID. So we're going to just copy this to the clipboard, and we're going to go back and paste that in to the authorization callback URL box. And then to complete your callback URL, you need to add /auth/v1/callback. And this is your callback URL for any of the providers that you use besides GitHub, whether you use Facebook, Google, doesn't matter. So now we're just going to click Register Application. At this point we have our client ID and client secret, which we're going to need for our application. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the client ID to the clipboard and go back to our Supabase project and then go over to Authentication and Settings. We're going to go down to GitHub. We're going to turn on GitHub Authentication. We're going to paste the client ID that we just got right here. And then we're going to go back to our GitHub page and we're going to create a new client secret for this application. You're going to need to put in your GitHub password. And there is your client secret. Now be careful, you won't be able to get this back, so copy it in a safe place if you need it, or you can regenerate a new one later, but you'll have to go through this process again. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this to the clipboard and then go back to our project, our Supabase project, paste it in the GitHub secret box, scroll up and hit save. Okay, once this is saved, our keys are in our Supabase project, so all we need to do is add our login code to the client app. So to do that, we're going to start by importing the create client object from the Supabase JS library, just as you see here. And now we need a reference to the Supabase object. So to get the reference to the Supabase object, we're going to go back to our Supabase project. And we're going to go down to API and click on Authentication. And this is conveniently filled out for us. Our client API key and our Supabase URL is all set. So all we need to do is hit copy. Now this is a public URL. It's okay for this to live in your application. It's a public key, I should say. So we're going to paste that right into our client application and then come back and copy the Supabase URL and the instantiation of the Supabase object. So just click that, copy, and then paste. The only thing we need to do here is get rid of process env. That's for Node.js, and we're on the client here. So now we have the Supabase object that we can use to pass to the login functions. So we're going to create two functions here. We're going to say login with GitHub, and then we're going to create a function for logging out of the application. These functions are provided for us already. We'll see that in a second. Typically, I'll create one function for logging into all the different providers. I'll call it login with provider, and I'll pass it a variable right in here, and then put that variable down here. But for right now, we're just working with GitHub, so let's see how to do that. In order to do that, we're going to go back to the Supabase website, go to the documentation, search for the API Auth. And then once you find API Auth, we're going to look at sign in. Once you're at sign in, go to sign in with third-party providers. And here's the code we need. All we need to do is hit copy, go out here and paste it into our login function. And then we're going to change this. Actually, we don't have to change this because the default is GitHub, but you can put in any provider here: GitHub, Google, GitLab, Bitbucket. I think we have 7 or 8 of them now. And now we need the code for our logout function. So we'll go back to the documentation, go to sign out. This is literally one line of code. Copy it to the clipboard, paste it under logout, and now we have a complete application. Oh, one more thing. You're going to need to take these functions and wire them to a button that says login with GitHub, or a GitHub icon, or some text that says login with GitHub, whatever you want to do. But that's all it takes for your users to be able to click a button to log in with GitHub and log out of your application.